Salutations, hood rats, and white trash alike. Today, we are talking about a progressive movie that touches on a serious problem within our society, mental health, and the unfair gender roles placed on half of those in our society, and the ill effects that can take upon what is commonly referred to as men's better half. I'm just fucking with you. We are actually discussing a comedy that dares to not have any jokes. Did you ever think that a goat fucking joke could be rendered humorless? Well, we watched Ringmaster so that you do not have to. Welcome to Crushed Celluloid. Alright, today we are talking about Ringmaster. It's dire.
Jesus fucking Christ, man. I really wanted to like this movie. I expected to like this movie.
I thought this was going to be a hidden gem. I thought we were going to come out of this loving it. And because I guess when you hear it's a movie about Jerry Springer, the initial thought is it's going to be something like a National Lampoon's type film or something like that. Like just silly.
But I don't know what the fuck they were going for in this movie.
No, let's start off by talking about Jerry Springer a little bit, I guess, because that's what this film is born from, is the fame of the Jerry Springer Show. Well, did you watch it much?
I did. I can't recall a lot about it, but I know when I was younger at that time, I would watch it a lot of times, like especially if I skip school or something, or if it happened to be repeating later on when I was at home. Yeah, I watched it several times. Yeah,
and it was fun in like a 13-year-old type way, and
exactly. And Jerry Springer himself is actually a very interesting person.
Yeah,
and he actually is, I think, the best part of this movie, which isn't saying much, but. It's saying something, I guess.
I think I'd give it to the person who played the mother. She did the best with the material she was given.
Yeah, if by doing the best of the material she was given, you mean created the saddest, creepiest fucking character I've ever seen in the history of cinema. Yeah, she did a very good job.
That is exactly what she did, and this movie always borders on doing something prescient and meaningful, and then just totally undercuts it.
It really does, because it's fucking grueling. It is a boring, just piece of shit. It really is. And again, I wanted to like this movie. I thought it was going to be a very underrated gem, like you said. And I guess I should have seen the warning signs when I started looking at the ratings to this movie. It had like a 3.1 on IMDb, a 25% critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and an 18% audience on Rotten Tomatoes.
You know, I'm still even a little surprised it got that much. I think that is grossly overrating this movie.
I think that's more just nostalgia for the Jerry Springer show.
Who the fuck? Yeah, I mean, but who would have nostalgia? And like, like Space Jam, I can understand that nostalgia to a certain extent because it was a kid's movie, so you're a child when you watched it. So if you watch it when you're older and not really paying attention, you're like, oh yeah, it's still good, even though it's a fucking horrible piece of shit movie. This, I don't see where nostalgia would ever fit in, and I think that's why it has completely been forgotten.
Yeah, honestly, I would rather watch Space Jam again than watch this again.
Oh my god, I had so much more fun during Space Jam, and that's saying a lot, because I did not have any fun watching Space Jam.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This fucking movie, the year was 1998, and I guess it was just the right time and the right place. Like 2 years earlier, Howard Stern had a hit with Private Parts, so I guess they decided to give Jerry Springer a shot. And because he is an interesting guy, especially like his background, because like he started in a political career and then moved to a journalism career and then eventually ended up hosting the Jerry Springer Show. So he's an interesting character, and they touch on that a little in the movie. But
I wouldn't even say they touched on it. I would say it's mentioned in passing.
It's mentioned in passing at best. But I don't know. And actually, Jerry Springer won a Razzie for Worst New Star from this movie.
Good.
And it's understandable enough, but he actually beat out the Spice Girls, Carrot Top, and Barney.
Whoa, was this same year as Chairman of the Board?
Yes, 1990.
Whoa, no way.
Same year as Chairman of the Board, Spice World, and Barney's Great Adventure, or whatever the fuck the Barney movie was. And he beat out all of them to win the Worst New Star.
You know what? I take back that I'd rather be watching Space Jam. I would even rather be watching Chairman of the Board than watching this movie.
You know, I think that movie's going on the table.
I'll accept it. I can deal it.
I still have your VHS copy of it.
Nice. But I mean,
and honestly, go ahead.
But Private Parts was well done. It's actually I enjoy it a lot. It really it gets a little bit to the pathos of Howard Stern and that whole schlock rock thing, like to where it morphs it to make it a little bit more personal.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why Private Parts worked. It was about Howard Stern. It was about how he started his rise, how he became who he is, and like what he had to do to become famous and get the show the way it is now. This takes the exact opposite route, and Jerry Springer is kind of like a third-rate character in this movie. He is like the third subplot of this movie, which more focuses on the kind of people that are on his show. And their stories and their background is focused on way more than actually Jerry Springer, who is way more interesting than these people.
Yes, and the whole movie is just like, because what I thought the whole National Lampoon's thing that easily fits into what the Jerry Springer show was, and it's just going to be silly little vignettes that just continue throughout, and there's no real plot to build around. Like. Mm-hmm. Minimal plot and just doing silly things.
I think that's where it went wrong. It tried to build a plot based on like two or three groups of people that are on this show
that are not that interesting and are so cartoonish at times that there's no empathy for anybody in this movie.
No. And again, I'm sorry, but just like the group of black people that come onto the show, this is just like trademark, like how black people are according to white writers.
No, exactly. This movie relies on like 4 jokes. One of those being that blowjobs are inherently funny, and the second one being that black people acting like hood rats are inherently funny. And
that white people acting like redneck white trash is inherently funny.
Yes.
Which that one is kind of true, but it's, you know.
But they don't capture it in this movie.
No, they don't. But actually, it's weird enough, this movie actually wasn't a huge flop or anything. It wasn't a huge hit, but it made over twice its money back. It had like a $3.5 million budget. Who knows where that went? But it made like $9.25 million in the theater, and I'm sure it made way more in like home, video rentals and DVD sales and shit like that. So it definitely wasn't a bomb. It made at least twice its money back, probably 3 to 4 times its money back at this point with, VHS and DVD sales. But I do want to talk a little bit more about the background of this movie because it was directed by a guy named Neil Abramson.
And I knew that name. I didn't look it up.
Okay, well, here's the thing, is that he's mostly known for doing, like, indie and documentary kind of stuff. Like, his big thing, which actually came out the same year as Ringmaster, was a film called Soldier Child, which was basically a documentary about Joseph Kony and like the kids that he mistreated and brutalized and forced to be in his Lord's Resistance Army. And like that did very well. Yeah, like same year, that was like his documentary film came out the same year that he did fucking Ringmaster. And
what the fuck?
I don't know, man. It's strange to think that they came out at the same time, that he did something so serious.
Oh man, fucking. I mean, and I get this whole movie. It just it's definitely, they were just like, okay, Jerry Springer's hot. Let's push something out as quick as possible. Like this whole movie just stinks of that. And once again, they didn't do what would come natural to a Jerry Springer movie. They decided to go this weird, like, slapstick comedy / intense drama
where none of it works.
Like, none of it.
And that's the thing. It doesn't even feel like it's maybe there was a script that kind of had these elements and then they kind of changed it around to put Jerry Springer into it. It really seems like someone wrote this movie specifically to be a Jerry Springer vehicle, and this is what they went with.
Yeah. So let's just get into it. The opening is there. It reminded me of Friday, actually. Did you get that?
A little bit, but it's weird because there's several moments in this movie, especially where it's just like long shots on a location, and you just kind of hear people mumbling in the background. It was hard for me to even hear or understand a lot of the dialogue.
I don't think you're supposed to. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure in the opening scene they're talking. She's talking about his dick. I don't know. It sounded like someone talking about his dick.
Who fucking cares? But I did love that. you can't tell at first, but it's a hip hop version of "Living in America" is playing,
Yeah.
which plays into the end of the movie in a strange, fucked up way.
Definitely so. I think that was definitely trying to set the tone or go along with what the movie was about. But it's also kind of funny because that song is playing and we see kind of the main character, Angel, played by Jamie Presley, who I usually really fucking like, and I just couldn't fucking stand her in this movie. But she's kind
horrible.
of like driving to work, I guess, and she was like kind of bobbing along to the music and stuff, but not to the song that was playing, and probably not to any song at all. It was very awkward and weird. And that sets the tone for the whole movie. Everything is very awkward and weird and just doesn't match up right.
And then we get to the motel room where she's a cleaning lady for a motel. She's late. She's running in. She goes into this room and knocks on the door. No one answers, so she walks in and the guy comes out of the bathroom. He's like, oh.
The guy, by the way, MC Gainey, who I don't know if you know, you might know. He was a Swamp Thing in Con Air. He was in like The Mighty Ducks and Lost. He was in Sideways. Okay. You got to see his dingaling in Sideways, which was fun. He was the one lady's that the dude was banging. It was her husband, and he like runs after him naked, like when he's driving away in the car.
I haven't seen Sideways.
Oh well.
I saw I Heart Huckabees, and so I just assumed I'd seen Sideways. I think it does.
I'll give that to you. Okay.
Yeah, so she walks in and she's like, oh yeah, that's what the do not disturb sign is for, and she's about to walk out, and he's like, well, you don't have to leave, and so she puts a sign on the door, just immediately goes and sucks him off, like. And
which, by the way, in explaining the scene, like, we find out that apparently he heard from a buddy of his that he should get a room on this floor if he wanted a good morning blowjob.
Yeah.
But there seems to be no money exchange. She's not, like, whoring herself out. It's just kind of like, he's like, hey, you don't have to go. She's like, okay, I'll give you a blowjob because that's just kind of what I do. I give strangers blowjobs. Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. And there's also, while he's getting a blowjob, there's a cuckoo clock sound. Like, the Foley in this movie is insane.
And there are several blowjob scenes in this movie, and I kind of like, I'm not sure if my mind was playing tricks on me, or if there actually were, like, slurping and sucking sounds at times. Because it sounded like there were, but I wasn't sure if I was just hearing things or imagining that because that's what should be there.
No. There are definitely very obvious slurping sounds happening. Like, not even, like... a blowjob, so like just way over the top and just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we also get to see before that scene that her mom runs like a little food and drink truck that she drives around to different places, and when it showed that one shot of her truck, the only thing I could think was like, remember Brisk, the iced tea? I hadn't seen that in forever. I just, like, every time it showed her truck, I was just like, Brisk. Oh, they used to have those Rocky commercials. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the 90s.
Yeah. Oh, Brisk. The Surge. All those things.
And speaking of that, though, because there were different shots of her truck where they would show, like, that or Pepsi, and it would show, like, Fritos and corn chips and all kinds of other things. And I kept thinking, like... I really doubt any of that was product placement. Like, I really doubt any of those companies gave money to this movie to have their products in it, except for maybe Brisk. I think Brisk might have given them a little bit of money.
Brisk probably did. I would, because you're just like, we're making a Jerry Springer movie. Like, that's guaranteed to get an audience in late 90s. So, I get and I don't know, maybe it was towards the end of Jerry Springer, but I think this was in the heyday, if I remember
I do think this was in the heyday, because I think the show went on pretty strong until, like, the 2000s.
Yeah, I'm pretty about until...
I don't even know if it's still on, by the way. I don't think it is, but...
I think, like, reruns play, but I'm not sure if they make new episodes. I know it still plays.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, it's such a late 90s thing, because now nobody cares about, like, multi-sexual people or transvestites. It's not shocking anymore. Like, this was something that was shocking in the late 90s. It was like, oh my god, they're sleeping. Not to mention that the Jerry Springer was totally fake. That they had to admit that they were fake so they didn't get sued.
Yeah, well, not only that, but after, you can only do so many different stories to where they just start repeating themselves, and I guess people will lose interest.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Sally Jesse Raphael or anything, where like or Jenny Jones, like, my teenager's gone insane. Like, you can rehash that so many times.
Yeah, exactly, and it gets boring after a while.
Well, it's the days before we had Netflix or things like that. We take advantage that we can choose what we want to watch a lot more readily now.
Well, that's true, because if you were sitting on your ass and not working or going to school or anything in the 90s, that's pretty much all you had to watch.
Yeah, you didn't get to be
You
like...
pretty much, you watch Blue's Clues or you watch Jerry Springer. That's kind of what you did.
Yeah, you didn't get to sit down and watch 5 episodes of Battlestar Galactica back to back. You had to choose...
Which you should be thankful for.
Yes. We survived this, the nadir that was the 90s TV. God help us all.
So say we all.
And so then we go, and it's weird how little's explained. Where Jamie Foxx, not Jamie Foxx, Jamie Presley goes to this other guy's house and just kind of walk around like, oh, maybe we should get married. It's like, all right. And then she goes back to this other house where she's getting really comfy with this other girl's apparent husband. And we have no real idea that that's her daughter too much or anything. Like, the relationships are so vaguely built in the beginning that you're kind of just confused as to what is happening.
Yeah.
And what... Like, you get the idea that the step-husband is cheating with Jamie Presley.
I also kind of think that they just kind of expect that the audience has seen Jerry Springer and they kind of know what's going on. It's like, ooh, that daughter's about to get with her stepdaddy.
Oh, man. And I guess that was the idea. And so the step-husband's cheating with Jamie Presley. The mother, who is fully aware of this, has this crazy weird moment. Or first she hears, like, they're watching Springer and it says, is your child sleeping with your stepfather? Call our show. And so she writes down the number real quick, and then she has this really weird moment in the mirror where she pretends she's on Jerry Springer. She's like, oh no, my step-husband was doing what with my daughter? You were doing what under my roof? And it's sad. It's really depressing.
And like I said, that's why I can give her a little bit of credit. I forget the actress's name, but she does just create this very kind of sad character. But the more the movie goes along, the less it becomes sad and the more it becomes kind of creepy. Because there's another mirror scene later on that is just...
it's demented.
It sent chills down my fucking spine.
Oh, no, and that's why I really like her. Like, and that this movie could have, like...
By the way, in this first, 15 minutes of the movie, it is the most boring fucking thing I have seen in a long time.
God.
I was just so fucking bored. When it finally did around this time, show the scene of the Jerry Springer show going on, I was like, oh, okay, I get why people love Springer now. This movie stopped being so goddamn boring. This is at least a little entertaining.
Yeah, because I was watching it, I'm just like, this is the most unfunny comedy movie I've ever seen. Like, it's not even non-jokes. It's like they're not even trying to make a joke. It's like it's just trying to reference something that should be funny, but it's not.
Yeah, and I guess they just think that the characters themselves are just inherently funny, and just having them on screen is gonna cause laughter.
Which none of it does. Nothing is funny.
At most, it gets head shakes and eye rolls and... I don't know, kind of sighs and maybe chuckles because I feel bad for it.
But so we get this glimpse of Jerry Springer, where the show that she gets from the number from, and we see this shot of Backstage where this woman is talking to this fat bearded redneck man, and she says essentially, I'm gonna go out there and pull her hair, and then I'm gonna talk about how small your dick is. And then she goes out there and does that same exact thing. And my question is, what writer thinks that is comedy? That you explain the joke before you even do it, and then do the same thing you just explained?
I guess, if anything, that maybe might not have been going for comedy, but just kind of showing how the show works. That they're pretty much like, hey, this is what we're going to do, and then they go on stage and do it and try to make it look like everyone's mad, and it's really happening.
See, and that would have made sense if they were going for that these people are acting in some sort of way, but they're acting like these people are real. And so it's more giving away a joke before they even do the joke. That's more what I got from it. But I can see where you're coming from. It's kind of showing how the show is
it
set up.
did kind of steal its own thunder in a way.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling if they just, they didn't say anything to each other and they kind of went out there and then all that stuff happened, it might have gotten a couple laughs out of me. But the fact that she was like, oh, I'm going to call your dick small, and then she starts doing that, I was just like, oh, yeah, whatever, I know.
Yeah, just horrible fucking writing. Bad.
Well, again, the writer has 3 credits to his name.
Yeah, it's. I guess we shouldn't expect much.
Yeah, so in addition to that, we get introduced to this other set of characters, kind of the second set of characters in the movie,
Yeah.
Which is Michael Jai White as Demond.
Spawn.
What?
Spawn. it's
Oh, yeah, it is Spawn.
Spawn. Yeah, that's.
I kept trying to come up with sexual Spawn jokes throughout this movie.
No, he doesn't deserve to be demeaned like that. Not like he was already demeaned enough being in this film.
Yeah, true enough. But yeah, it is Spawn, and he's fucking awesome. I actually do really like him in this movie. I think he's one of the only ones that does a good job in this movie. But we basically get introduced to him and his crazy hood rat girlfriend and her crazy hood rat friends that he's fucking, and their whole fucked up life. I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah.
So anyway, after that, we get introduced more so to Jerry, who isn't actually Jerry Springer. I forget his last name in the movie, but it's Jerry something else, and it's not even the Jerry Springer Show. It's the Jerry Show.
Yeah.
It's because, they wanted to differentiate. But, so we end up going to this cafe, and he's meeting, I guess, with one of his producers or something, and we get to kind of see his celebrity. Different people are coming up to him, asking him for autographs, shaking his hand. He just seems like a hero of the people. But mainly, I just wanted to point out that it's Lin Shaye in this scene.
Yeah.
And she is fucking criminally underused. She doesn't get to do anything. Yeah. She gets one little bit where, she shows pictures, and the joke is that the pictures she's showing him of her daughter, she's like a kind of funny-looking daughter. That's her thing. She doesn't get a chance to be funny. She doesn't get any good lines, and that's just fucking criminal because she is hilarious.
No, and the whole scene is not funny. There is not one joke in the entire scene.
But know what? You know what? There's titties in it.
Yeah, because that's what you come to a Jerry Springer movie for. You just have to inject titties whenever you can.
And there actually weren't even a whole lot of titties in this movie, and they were all back to back. It was 5 minutes where there was just because even in my notes I was just titties, more titties, even more titties, and then nothing the rest of the film.
Oh yeah, because the next scene after the restaurant scene, when it starts off and the girl almost immediately shows her tits, and then it's just and she also has a girlfriend named Shaniqua, but Shaniqua is a white woman with those horrible 80s rock hard, fake tits, and it's almost depressing how bad they look. Just that's not sexy.
But the crowd's eating it up.
Oh, and the crowd's going wild, and the camera's just lovingly filming them making out, and it just looks weird.
Yeah, this scene is so fucking awkward because it lingers for so long. It feels like they just okay, the people coming to see this movie, they're gonna want to see tits. We can't get any of our big actresses to get naked, so we're just gonna linger on the scene for about 5 minutes longer than we should, and just keep showing these tits for no real reason. There's no story. No one's really saying anything. It's just tits being thrown around and rubbed a little bit, and people screaming Jerry.
And this was also the moment I noticed that Jerry Springer just looks defeated. I completely disagree with you. I don't think Jerry Springer did I feel like he is a walking dead man through half of this film. And it's like he is just going through the realization of what he has become throughout this entire film.
I don't know. I think he does have some very good moments in it, and I think more so that's what he is playing in the movie. I think he's playing the character that is very much himself, but I think he's playing it in that way where he's just what the fuck am I doing all the time? Because I'm sure that's something he asked himself on a daily basis when doing the show. But I think that's more a testament to him acting in that way. Because even when you see him on his actual show, he never acted like that. He didn't seem defeated. He just seemed like the host that was just going along with it, wasn't judgmental of anybody. Shit like that. Here, I think he's playing more so the person behind the TV show, kind of dealing with being that person.
And I would agree with that if the movie kind of built on that in any way, but it doesn't. It's just kind of...
Well, it doesn't really show too much inner turmoil with him or anything. He seems like he's just going with the flow. He doesn't really care that much.
And then we also, right after that, we see the backstage scene where a guy comes up to Jerry and just kind of this playing on his celebrity again, to where this guy's kind of you ever thought about doing a show about people that have crushes on farm animals? And then he shows them a picture of a goat, and just once again playing it as if...
and he calls it... his line is she sure is a horny goat.
Just trying to play on this idea that fucking goats is inherently funny without making any real joke, or any jokes they make are just totally without timing. It falls completely flat. For a goat fucking joke, it falls surprisingly flat.
Yeah, goat fucking jokes are really easy to do.
Yeah,
it's
how do
not
you
that
fuck
hard.
that up?
Just a little bit of reserve, just maybe giving it a little bit of thought, you could have gotten a funny goat fucking joke out of that.
Yeah.
But no, you took the easy, quick route and just thought that, hey, showing a picture of a guy that likes to fuck his goat, oh, that's inherently funny.
And a lot of ADR, a lot of fucking ADR in this movie.
It is, and it's mostly it comes from, of course, having the audience and filling in sounds for that. Anytime they're talking on the phone to someone, that's definitely kind of like a voiceover thing. And again, it's just not fucking funny. I don't know. God, this movie brings me down.
Oh, it's so depressing. Like, just to point out a badly ADR'd scene is when Jamie Presley and the stepfather are fucking each other in the bed, like in the main bed, because they think the mom's not going to come home. And this whole part is ADR'd. He says, do that other thing. What other thing? That thing your mama won't do. That's not a joke. That's not funny. And that was ADR'd in to punch up that scene?
Yeah. He's talking about doing it in the butt.
This movie has no respect for its audience.
It really doesn't. And again, it just kind of goes, like we were saying, with the thing that white trash people are inherently funny. We see Jamie Presley going to get her check cashed at some, like, grocery store or whatever. When she walks in to the gas station thing, she sees a cop in the corner and then proceeds to try to get her check cashed. The person won't do it because the name doesn't match up on her license and the check. And so she starts shit and starts threatening to beat the girl's ass, knowing there's a fucking cop in there. And then when the cop comes up to her, she just punches the cop in the face. Because, haha, she's white trash. It's funny.
Did you notice that after that cop drags her out, there were 2 different cops that actually put her in a cop car?
Yeah.
That were like, really, guys? You're that, like, you didn't even have to show that. Like, it's pretty well assumed if she gets carried out by a cop, she's going to jail. You do not have to make this whole other scene of her getting in a cop where you don't have the original cop actor anymore. You could skip that.
Yeah. Pretty much her being hauled off, we know that she's fucking going to jail. It's again, they had to stretch it out to 86 minutes, I guess.
We cut back to Jerry talking to his producer, and he talks about how these people are suing him, and they have emotional stress, and they're calling it like Jerry disorder or something. And Jerry Springer has a line, "I'm a disorder, I've made the big time." But he throws his hands up in such a weak fashion. Like he does, they kind of raise hands like, I made the big time.
I'm in the big time.
It's so sad. Like there is so many depressing moments like that throughout this movie.
Well, even that, like when you mentioned a second ago with the guy talking on the phone to somebody, every scene, they have several scenes of the producers or the people working on the show talking to potential guests on the show, and it seems like every time they talk to someone, they just can barely contain their laughter, and they're just like, I got a good one, but none of it's fucking funny. Like, all of it is just kind of sad or just kind of flat and weird. I don't get it.
No, it's not fun. There's nothing fun in this movie.
Yeah, so we get to see Jerry have a little bit of fun. Jerry, we cut to a scene of Jerry fucking somebody, and it's funny because it kind of cuts and the Jerry show is playing on the TV, and you kind of hear the people going, Jerry, Jerry, and then you kind of hear a woman saying that, and it's the woman he's fucking, because she's calling out his name. He even has a line after they get done, he was like, that might have been my favorite episode. Oh, comedy.
There it is, right there. That's your allotment of comedy for the day.
I will say though, afterwards when he's kind of talking with her about the show or whatever, and she leaves, and he kind of like flexes in the mirror a little bit. It's very brief, but it actually kind of made me laugh a little bit.
Yeah. No, that was all right. I'll give that one an all
again,
right.
And I think that just relies on Jerry Springer actually having some charisma and actually kind of being a joy to watch at times.
Yeah.
I think that's the only redeeming qualities of this movie, really, is that sometimes it's fun to watch Jerry Springer.
Yeah, I will say we skipped the one scene where the mom comes back and finds the stepdad and Jamie Presley sleeping together. So she decides to go blow Jamie Presley's fiance. And once again, this weird blowjob joke that isn't funny, but the movie is acting like it's hilarious.
Yeah, and even the initial blowjob joke, that was kind of skimmed over. You kind of see her like opening up his pants and then it cuts away. This one literally just hangs on it for a while.
Oh,
like she goes down on him and then you just kind of like continue like two different shots, see the back of her head moving as he's getting a blowjob, and that's when you hear the
Ew, oh my god. Those sounds
really,
are so disgusting.
It's awful. And not only does she blow him, we find out when she comes back to the house later that she also fucked him and used her daughter's diaphragm in doing so, which she like tosses it back to her and is like, you might want to rinse this out. I didn't have a chance to.
Yeah,
that's not even really gross out humor. That's just gross.
Yeah, I didn't lie. It's just, a cum joke. That's unsanitary, woman.
And by the way, at this point in the movie, I was just kind of like, already just, to myself. I just couldn't take it anymore. And then I looked, and we're only 30 minutes into the movie so far.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
there's still a whole hour left to go.
Oh, yeah. And then, so the next day, the mom finds out they're going to be on Jerry Springer. I love the woman on the phone. She's like, how you doing? Yeah, it's really me. When the mother hasn't said anything.
That actually was probably, I laughed the hardest at that scene than I did at anything else in the movie, just because I think it's something they just didn't put in, or they assumed you'd be like, oh, the mom was probably like, oh, is it really you? But you don't hear that. So it's just like, yeah it's really me. It's just like, wow, you're self-important, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that scene is just left on the editing floor, so it's just completely nonsensical in the movie. and immediately, just going on Jerry Springer fixes this family's entire problems. The mother loves the daughter again. She's kissing the stepfather, even though she just caught him sleeping with her daughter. Like, it's ridiculous how excited they are, and just that it's like, okay, everything's great again.
Well, again, I think it's just trying to make jokes about, like, poor white trash people just kind of being like, oh, they're doing these fucked up things, and they have messed up lives, but they get to go be on the TV? Oh, everything's good again.
They're so excited.
Oh!
And then we go back and we see the black people again, which you would have forgotten about by this point because they are almost a subplot, except for Michael J. White.
Yeah.
It's their...
And they are, it's pretty much, it's sad to say this, but they're kind of the comic relief in this movie.
Yeah, they are.
Which is sad because for the most part, it's not very funny. Although I will say, after they find out that they're going to the show and they all kind of get on the plane, the plane rap was completely worth watching this movie.
That's the best scene of this movie. I was like, this is the first time I've had fun during this movie, and it was the last time I had fun during this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's basically the three black girls and Michael J. White, they're all kind of on the plane, and of course they're acting all hood rat like they've never been on a plane before, and like it amazes them, and they just kind of start beatboxing and rapping about being on a plane, and it's just really inane lyrics about like, oh, we're gonna be high up in the air. Hey, what are you looking at? Turn your ass around and you'll see. And just kind of rapping, and it's even funny because even Michael J. White kind of sitting by the window, he's kind of bobbing his head along with the beat they're doing.
Yeah. But after this, it devolves into nothing but hood rat jokes.
That's pretty much all they're there for from then on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they are very much so kind of the comedy relief in this movie, and they're not funny for the most part, but I think all of the laughs I really got out of this movie came from them. And not really when they're being overly stereotypically like hood rat and shit, but just sometimes where they actually had moments with each other. Like there were some funny moments, some kind of funny like subtle gags that they had.
Yeah, they had a couple, so we go to the backstage where everyone's getting acquainted, and there's this one guy's like, "I'm Charlie, man by day, woman by night."
Foreshadowing.
And then there's a record scratch when something happens. I just have explanations of the sounds that are happening, like record scratch. Like, I don't know what it was for. But...
And by the way, this whole scene is like a 15-minute long scene in the movie where they're getting kind of acquainted with each other, and then some of them are sneaking out to go try to meet Jerry or like hook up. And it's just, it's played like it's the most interesting thing in the fucking world. Like, all of this is action, and all of this is like very intriguing or engaging shit, and it is not in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, it's horrible. And most of it can be skipped over. like the mom gets jealous that the daughter is getting an autograph from Jerry, so she makes him sign her shirt, and that scene plays for so fucking long, and there's not a joke in it. There is not one joke the entire time, except that he's near her tits, and so this movie is really demeaning to women in general. This is extremely sexist and extremely racist movie. Like, not even subtly to any degree. It's just overtly sexist, racist, discriminatory. And it tries to correct itself, I mean, to some degree by saying, like, this is the heart of America. But no, that's not what's happening. Like,
yeah, well, see, that's the thing, is I actually did kind of like that speech at the end, because I feel like... we'll get to it later. I feel like.
Yeah. So anyway, this
is kind of where
forever.
they do all that, but Michael J. White kind of like sets his eyes on Jamie Presley, and we see obviously they're gonna hook up, so they kind of sneak off together to go start making out and stuff like that. And here's where I don't know, I couldn't help it. I just kept trying to come up with like sexual jokes involving Spawn. Like, he's gonna go spawn on her fat clown, or
she's gonna spawn all over her face.
Yeah, I just kept wanting to find some way to call a vagina a John Leguizamo. I couldn't quite make it work, but I'll get back to you on it.
I had a weird period in my life where I referred to vaginas as John Leguizamo. Anyway,
hey baby, is your pussy a John Leguizamo? Because that thing is a pest. You're welcome. You can keep that one. I got an arsenal.
I was gonna try and say it, but you know what? I can't top that. I'm gonna move on. I will say that when him and Jamie, I want to say Jamie Lee, and then I almost said Jamie Foxx again, where him and Jamie Presley start making out is the first of many times where anytime Michael J. White appears on the screen, smooth R&B starts playing in the background.
I know, and it's hilarious because I seriously even made a note about this later. I was like, I think Michael J. White has a constant like Boys to Men soundtrack that the world gives to him, that the world plays for him whenever he's doing anything.
Yeah, anytime he's on screen, all of a sudden it's like,
it does. Everyone just sounds like a cheap Boys to Men ripoff. Yeah. But every time he does anything, he's in an elevator, he's walking away, he stands there thinking to himself for a minute, smooth R&B. Because that's his character, obviously. He's the smooth R&B guy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so cut the bullshit here. Can we get to the scene everyone wants to hear about, that we both, I know, want to talk about? The hoedown? Can we talk about the hoedown?
Let's talk about the hoedown.
So when we get into the scene, we basically see that Jerry's character, Jerry, is basically doing like a public promotion kind of thing where he's going to this like hoedown. I guess it would seem like it would be the middle of America or something, but they're in LA and he definitely didn't travel anywhere. So I guess there's a cowboy hoedown in LA, and he's going to go and like sing a song and stuff like that. But literally when this scene started, I had to write down just like, what the fuck is wrong with this movie? Like, what are they trying to do? But then when I saw Jerry Springer in his cowboy outfit, which is like this light blue with like tassels and like these tan pants with like gold like stars and stuff like that on him, I was just like, nah, okay, that's a rad cowboy suit though. Good stuff.
Yeah, no, that was kind of a good joke where the guy, the producer, is just trying to give the woman thumbs up, like, yes, say his outfit's awesome, even though it's not. And
Jerry Springer has a joke where he's like, I feel like Garth Brooks' Jewish cousin.
Yeah.
That comedy gold!
Yeah, I mean, I think you played it better than the movie actually did with that reading.
When that happened, I was just like, comedy gold. This is like their A-list material. This is their comedy gold. This is the best they can do.
Oh, and it doesn't even end there, because there is an ADR line when they're walking to the stage, because that joke wasn't funny enough. He says, no, I feel more like Mel Brooks than Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did Jewish hear joke. That. Yeah, ha.
Feel more like Mel Brooks than Garth Brooks because I look like a clown and I'm silly.
And do you think that they thought this movie was going to do better than it did? Because they actually wrote a Jerry Springer theme song for Jerry Springer to sing on stage, and it's stupid as shit.
It's stupid as shit. He is a horrible singer. Like, he's more just kind of talking along with a countryist kind of like sound.
Yeah.
I don't know. And he's just basically kind of explaining like the kind of people he has on his show. And in the end of the song, he's basically just saying like, hey, at least it's not your problem because it could be. Don't knock it.
Ha. Huh. And then I love the scene afterwards where this woman comes up and like, can I have an autograph for my baby? And he's like, oh, sure. And then she pulls up her stomach and there's a record scratch. It's like, just like, what? She wants me to sign her pregnant belly.
Everybody knows that that's how you signal a joke. That's how people know to laugh. If something awkward happens and then there's a record scratch, people know, it's good times. We're having fun.
Yeah, because otherwise that would not come off as a joke at all. Because
otherwise it'd be kind of weird and creepy.
Yeah, it's just a big whatever. And so there's this whole hotel scene with Michael J. White going to sleep with Jamie Presley and his girlfriends freaking out about it being very hood rat. And there's this one joke that's extremely racist but got a chuckle out of me where she's in her friend's room like, no, come on, come out with us, come dance tonight. And she's like, no, I just want to wash my hair. And she's just brushing her weave in the bowl.
I knew that was the joke you were talking about because that cracked me up so much. She was like, no, I'm just going to stay here and wash my hair. Yeah. She's just like, has like pieces of her weave and she's just kind of like brushing it and washing it in a little bowl. I thought that was actually pretty funny too.
It was a better joke than most of this movie.
Yeah, that joke was better than this movie.
That joke
belonged in a better movie.
Yeah, and it's not even that good of a joke, and it's still better than this movie.
That joke belonged in the third or fourth Friday sequel.
Yeah, exactly. It probably is in the third or fourth Friday sequel. I haven't seen them.
I haven't seen anything past next Friday.
Yeah.
So anyway, we do kind of get to see, of course, in this whole scene before even Michael J. White, fucks Jamie Presley. Basically, Connie's husband Rusty decides to leave because he doesn't want to embarrass himself on on national television. Yeah. Who, suffice to say, he's the smartest white trash guy there.
Yeah.
He decides to get the fuck out while the getting's still good.
Yeah, I don't need to embarrass myself on television.
Yeah, it's like, why do you want to air our dirty laundry on national television and make people laugh at us for the fools that we are? Yeah, so he decides to leave, and of course, that kind of breaks Connie up a little bit. But we get this scene again of her in the mirror, and it's basically when she's about to go out, and she's kind of like putting on her makeup and everything. She's really overly made up. She has way too much makeup on stuff. She looks like a prostitute,
yeah.
She does, but not like, she actually looks oldest in the entire movie. Like right here. She looks way older than she does any other time in the movie. It's in
she was attractive throughout the movie, except for this scene.
Exactly. Just looked way older than she should have been, and she was just overcompensating, and she's just like talking to herself in the mirror, and she just keeps saying that she's pretty as a peach. Pretty as a peach.
And it's so creepy and demented. And
it is. Like, I thought the movie just took a really dark fucking turn.
That's what I thought was about to happen. Is like, okay, this movie is actually serious about trying to humanize these characters, and she's about to have a complete mental breakdown. But
no. It just kind of, she goes downstairs, gets bought a drink, and then tries to fuck Michael J. White.
And then so Michael J. White, he's gotten finished fucking Jamie Presley. The mom's hitting on him, and
she even has a line where she's like, "Oh, don't you want to fuck a daughter and her mother in the same night?"
Yeah, and he's just like, "I think you need to sleep it off. Just go to sleep. Just go to bed. You have a big day tomorrow." And she has this line where she's like, "Why can't you just lay next to me and hold me? Maybe tell me I'm pretty." And
we don't have to have sex.
We don't have to have sex. And he agrees.
I think he just feels really bad for her.
I think he does. And he's charmed by it. And once again, this movie could have taken a much higher plateau, gone to a cool place that would be prescient to something in this real world. But no, it just kind of... And
again, I do think we have the two best actors in the movie right here. Yeah. We have Michael J. White and the one that plays Connie here. And they kind of have a scene together. And I think that scene of them outside the elevator and then the scene of them in her hotel room together, those are probably some of the best scenes of the movie because those are the only times these felt like actual characters. And there was a little bit of like sympathy for them because, again, they get to the hotel room. She tries to take her dress off. And he's like, no, we don't need to do that. And
just give me a hug.
Give give me a hug. And then you could tell, like, she feels really good, and he doesn't even look like, he looks down on her or anything. He's just kind of like, I'm helping her. And then they kind of dance and they have a good time. Like, that was probably the most humane part of the movie. And the best part of the movie.
And it was wonderful, but I will point out that when they're dancing to Michael J. White's R&B music that is always playing in the background. So it's this weird moment where you're like, can they hear this?
See, what happened is that when Michael J. White lets you into his heart, you can hear his soundtrack, and you can just dance the night away with him. You can hear the music that goes on inside his head all the time.
You hear that, baby? You hear that lone saxophone? That's playing for your pussy. That's my Michael J. White, Barry White impression. That's Inception levels of impression.
I'm blown away, obviously.
You know what? Take a minute, soak it in.
I'm soaking in it.
No. Just shh. Let's move on.
I just want to say, like, we're maybe an hour into the movie at this point. This movie is seriously just fucking grueling. It is hard to get through. There are, like, small bits of, like, decent movie making, or at least somewhat entertaining scenes, but they're so few and far between that every stretch between them feels like a fucking eternity.
And I feel like the good scenes are just accidental, and it's just stuff that they're like, we need to pad this movie. And so they're just taking, like, all the B-roll and shit they can gather off the editing room floor and just shoving it back in. Mm-hmm. And that turns out to be the most prescient parts of the movie, like the mirror scenes, where it's just like, she is going insane right now. Like, that had no reason to be in this movie. It doesn't fit.
Well, nothing really does. So anyway, let's just cut to the next morning, where we finally get to the show. Which, actually, for what it's worth, which isn't much, it was pretty entertaining, actually seeing the show take place.
It was probably the better part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was, again, it just kind of reminded me of watching Jerry Springer when I was a kid a little bit, except, of course, they could, curse all the time and get naked if they wanted to and things like that.
Yeah, and, like, it shows them backstage, and the fiance, who we'll just leave him out mostly, but he's like, I'm going to tell them everything, and just like, what else can you tell them? Like,
well, he's a forgettable character. He's just a pushover. He's just there for them to tinker with. And then, he goes out and gets drunk after he sees Jamie Presley fucking Michael J. White. Comes back the next day, and apparently now he's pissed, and he's going to tell them everything, which he apparently knows some secret information. But of course, they kind of cut it down by being like, hey, I'm going to tell everything. So obviously, like, okay, some pertinent piece of information that's about to come out.
And I feel like they were trying to give him this empowering moment by him finally taking control of all this, but it still doesn't even play that way to any degree.
Because even if they do that, they completely undercut it after the show. Because they still gets treated like a fucking doormat. He's still carrying their bags. They just fucking leave him like they don't give a shit. And he's just like, whatever.
Yeah, I'm the fiance, I suppose. And fuck it. But, yeah, and I love when they're talking and so far, it's kind of all scripted. The mom does her line, which this is a really weird part when they come out to the show and the mom's like, you did what with my husband under my roof? And then immediately after, they talk about how she slept with the fiance to get back at her daughter. So it's like, wait, no, because she just acted like she didn't know about it. Now she does.
Well, again, in a way, even though I know it's probably not trying to do so, I like to give that some credit it doesn't deserve and just be like, oh, that's kind of making a play on what Jerry Springer episodes are actually like, where people are kind of saying things and trying to act out them being angry when, of course, they already know everything that happened.
Yeah, no, I think it's just lazy script writing more than anything. But it's just lazy script writing. I don't believe that about this movie at all. Fair enough. Then the fiance reveals the big punch that Jamie Presley is pregnant with her stepfather's baby.
Oh no!
Oh no! And then just so many fights break out with an end. So it'll be a calm moment, and then kind of like this revelation, and the mother just be like, oh my god, you did what? To the daughter, and the daughter be like, oh my god, mom, you did what? Like, but this is all intercut.
And then fight!
By Michael J. White's girlfriend fighting everyone on stage. And so
Well, not
there's
just her, because even that, and like Jamie Presley is fucking hitting her fiance Willie, and like the mother and daughter almost get into a fight, and just like everyone's trying to fucking hit everybody.
But these extreme, like what could have been human moments, intercut by fights the fights are punched up by this hip-hop music that starts in the background whenever the black girl is fighting. It's like, oh, now it's on, hold my shit.
I actually didn't notice like the hip-hop music part.
Oh, yeah.
But I did notice the whole,
time.
like, the second time she went up there to fight, she like took her earrings off. She was like, hold my shit. And then went up there again. She was like, you already just did that with your earrings. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I
don't know, but again, they had little glimpses of like human moments, because you could tell like once the mother actually found out her daughter was pregnant with her stepdad's baby, as opposed to just sleeping with him, which I don't know how it makes it any fucking better or worse, but you could tell that she's actually really hurt. And even when I keep forgetting her name, it was like Starletta is Damon's girl's name, Starletta. Even when she like says something to Connie, and she's like, you look like a broken down Tammy Faye Baker.
And she looks so broken by that.
I know, she does. It just fucking hurt her, and she's like in the corner for a second. She looks like she's about to break down and start crying. Like I do, like, there are very small glimmers of like human moments in this.
No, and I completely agree, but they are always undercut by a shitty fight scene.
Exactly, because they're trying to please the Jerry Springer crowd instead of actually being about how, oh, these are the kind of people that go on Jerry Springer, but then actually doing this and bringing this out, maybe they discover things and it actually does hurt them and break them, as opposed to just, they're just getting to be on TV and people get to laugh at them and it's cool. Like, that's what it could have gone for, but it still just kind of went for like the humor of fights breaking out on Jerry Springer and, ghetto people and poor people, not getting along and bringing their trash out on stage.
See, that's the fucked up thing, is this movie, well, we'll save this for the end. So all this happens, the mother and daughter, it ends, the mother's just like, you are not my daughter anymore, you're not my daughter. They go backstage, and the mother just has this crazy stream of consciousness rant that's kind of touching, but kind of insane.
I couldn't even find this touching. Like, I know what they were going for, and I think she tried to do the best she could with that speech, but it was just like, it's unsentimental sentimentality. Like, I could not feel an ounce for them with that. Like, after, especially since it was like a minute after they came off stage, after just saying like, I don't fucking know you anymore and everything. Then immediately they come in there and they're just kind of like, I forgive you, we're cool, right? And blah, blah, blah. And I love you. And they keep saying like how, oh, I tried to raise you right. And she's like, you raised me right, mama. And it's
it teeters on the edge of being something good, and that just completely, once again, undercuts itself at every point.
It does, because it does it then, and then it does it in like the final scene of the movie too, because again, they're talking about like, oh, you raised me right, you did it well, and like, of course, she's sitting there smoking, being pregnant, and they have no problem with that. And then the scene later, towards the end of the movie, they're like getting a drink together, and she's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't drink. And then she's like, I drank the whole time I was pregnant with you, and you turned out fine. She's like, yeah, you're right. And then drinks. Like,
wild. Just inexplicable. But we skipped over Jerry's final thought.
Yeah, by the way, when this is all going on, I was like, there's still 15 fucking minutes left in this movie.
Oh, this movie would not fucking end. I thought Jerry's final thought would be it. So Jerry's final thought is interrupted by a religious nut screaming out, what you're doing is promoting sin. Something along those lines.
Yeah, it's like, you're all going to hell. You're the scum of the earth. You don't deserve to be on the TV.
Yeah, and Jerry Springer is like, you know what? Rich people do this all the time. When rich people do it, we pay attention because we just can't get enough. But when poor people do it, I'm just giving them a chance to speak out. It's like,
this is a slice of American life. They're doing the same shit that your celebrities and your elitist people are doing. But now you don't want to see it? Fuck you. Sit down.
Yeah, this is a slice of American life.
This is like the best acting that Jerry Springer gave in the movie, because I honestly feel like this is a speech he has done in his head a million times over. Like, I feel like this is kind of how he justified doing this show for so long to himself. He's like, well, fuck it. We see rich people doing this all the time. We find out about all their exploits, who they're fucking, what drugs they're doing, blah, blah, blah. But when I show, poor people doing it, people want to degrade me for that and say that I'm wrong and that I'm promoting trash on TV. Like, fuck you. This is the same shit. I'm just showing you both sides of American life.
I will say that Roger Ebert, in his review, he pointed out that most definitely Jerry Springer wrote all his lines for this movie. And I agree mostly with that.
I agree, and I don't think he wrote any of the jokes he was supposed to do,
Yes,
because I think
yeah.
he's a little bit better than that. But I do feel like that last speech, I feel like he had a lot to do with writing that, or at least improvising that.
Yeah, but also that is the one time he does not just look like death incarnate. Like he is not just a broken down man.
Well, because that's the thing. Throughout the movie, you can tell he's kind of like, this is what I'm fucking doing with my life. This, especially when he sees the show and sees what's going on in it, he's like,
Yeah.
oh god. But then when someone attacks the show and attacks the people on the show, then he steps up and he's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
These people, there's nothing wrong with these people. They're just normal people that have fucked up lives like the rest of us. You can go to hell.
But you know what? They're not normal people. They are cartoons of people.
Yeah.
And so, really, like, any sentimentality they're trying to inject in this movie just falls flat because they have presented them as cartoon characters.
Yeah.
None of them, like, besides those scenes of, like, Michael J. White and the mother kind of dance, like, the mother is the only humanized character in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And she is humanized to the point where she looks demented. Like,
but there's still no resolution to that, really. It's just in the end, they're just kind of like, oh, her and her daughter make up, and they're gonna raise her baby together. Whatever.
Yeah, and it just...
And again, I'm really surprised, because I usually really fucking like Jamie Presley, but I just could not get behind her in this movie. Like, I mean, maybe it was just the lines as they were written, and she tried to do it, because she is good at playing those kind of, like, you know, lower white trash kind of characters, but it just doesn't work for her here.
No, and my thing about Jamie Presley is I'm surprised she hasn't accidentally stumbled into an Oscar nomination at this point. Like, with the amount of white trash people she plays, and she does it well because she has that whole Southern thing going about her. She plays it very naturally, as opposed to people, like most actors will over Southern themselves.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And Jamie Presley does it very naturally, so... I think if she was just cast in the right movie, she would get an Oscar nomination.
I do think that would be possible. I just think that...
I don't think it's going to happen.
I just think the opportunity is not there for her. Because, again, like, she did movies like this and very kind of, like, B-grade movies for a while. And I'm sure she did her best in most of them. But then she kind of got, like, the TV show with My Name is Earl, which I thought she was fucking awesome in. I thought she was phenomenal in that show.
Oh, she's great.
But I think, like, that's kind of where it's gone. And I think if she ever got the opportunity to be in a big-scale, like, Oscar movie, then yeah. But you pretty much already know when movies are coming out if they're going to be Oscar movies. Yeah. And most of those are going to cast, you know, your Amy Adams, your Jennifer Lawrences. They're not going to cast your Jamie Presleys.
Yeah. No, that's why I said she might have stumbled into it, but it would have been one of those surprise nominations at some point in time.
Because those still happen.
Yeah. The Oscars are totally fair about what they nominate.
Exactly. It's totally based off the best performances and the best movies that have come out the year, not in, you know, the ones that have the most marketing and that are directed by people that have won Oscars before or acted by people that have won Oscars before or anything like that. It's completely, you know, just based on the product, on the gold that actually comes from it.
Yeah, because you remember when The Master got that Oscar for best.
Oh yeah,
best
remember
film.
that year that The Master just swept the fucking Oscars?
Yeah,
Best director, best picture, best actor, best supporting actor, best actress. Yeah, all that.
Yeah,
See, that's how fair the Oscars are, because they'll give it to the movies that deserve it.
Yeah, they are fair and balanced. Anyway, back to. I mean, what is there even really to get back to with Ringmaster?
It's pretty much, there's a fucking dragged out ending, like I said, where the mother and daughter reconnect and they go back home. And basically, oh my god, it's so fucking drug out. But they basically get back home and then they find out some big burly guy just moved in next door to them. And they both start giving them the fuck me eyes. And then they're just like, all right, so we're just going to go back to what we're doing and both fucking the same guy.
Yeah.
Except we'll have a baby now, too.
Yeah, the point of the movie is nothing gained, nothing lost. Like
exactly. But I do love that as soon as the credits come up, before any credits actually roll, there's a message that is just basically saying, like, the people, places, events in this movie. Basically, the message that you read at the end of every movie, saying that it's not based off any real people, any similarities, or completely unintentional, blah, blah, blah. It puts that up before the credits start rolling.
Yeah.
And basically says, like, we have no affiliation with the Jerry Springer Show. This isn't meant to you know, This isn't meant to represent any people that have been guests on Jerry Springer or the show itself, or it said even depict any aspects of the Jerry Springer show.
Yeah, well, no, because the last line is that the Jerry Springer show wasn't licensed by the producers. Like, I love that is the last line.
I love
of that
but I was just like, thanks for that message. Really, like, I mean, obviously it wasn't intended to depict anything on the Jerry Springer show, but just to make it clear, just so we know.
Just so you know, we have no rights to the Jerry Springer show. Please do not compare it to Jerry Springer.
Yeah, please do not compare it. Please, obviously, you know, his name is Jerry something or other, and it's not the Jerry, it's the Jerry show, okay?
Come on, guys. Can we make it any
This
clearer?
has nothing to do. That's a completely different thing. We just happen to have the same guy in our movie.
Yeah. And
so Cole, tell me, final thoughts. Would you recommend Ringmaster to anybody?
If I thought there was someone...
Good answer! Moving on.
if there was someone that especially wanted to kill themselves, and I thought it was a good idea, and they just needed that nudge over the edge, I think I might recommend it.
Okay, well, keep that one in your arsenal then. Yeah, keep that in your back pocket, you know, because that happens. We run into those people sometimes in life. That's just part of the American experience.
Outside of those extenuating circumstances, this movie deserves to die the horrible, slow death it deserves.
Yeah, I am honestly, I'm really not surprised that this movie was not remembered at all, and it's not a thing. And I'm sure it's something that even Jerry Springer himself, with, you know, his wonderful career of doing shows like Baggage now, I'm sure even he kind of wants to forget about it. But honestly, I really fucking hated this movie. All I can really recommend to anyone is maybe go Google the plane rap scene. Maybe look that up on YouTube and watch that. Get a little laugh out of it, because I guarantee you that's the most you're going to get out of this movie.
We certainly hope that you enjoyed our discussion of Ringmaster, because we sure as fuck did not enjoy watching it. Next, we'll be discussing the Whoopi Goldberg film, Fatal Beauty. And God help us all if it is as soul-wrenchingly bad as Ringmaster. But I can't believe that is possible. We'll see you next time, here at Crushed Celluloid.